Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Campaign Diary, my monthly podcast, well, monthly-ish depending on how long the campaign arcs take, that recounts the story of my D&D game, Descent into the Veil, and shows you some helpful lessons that I have learned through running my game. I recommend watching the previous episodes. I do think they're pretty good, but if you can't or you just don't remember what happened last time, I'll give you a little bit of a recap. After gathering together in the city of Blackwater and befriending some of the locals, the party journeyed to another city known as Anglefall to recover the ship of one of the party members, Captain Flint Strider. The ship had been stolen by a vampire by the name of Markov Sterik. The group teamed up with a con man and attempted to con the ship out of the hands of the greedy vampire, but unfortunately that did not work out for them. They got the crap kicked out of them, and they needed to take the ship by force. They barged into Sterik's home, killed him after a lot of effort, and took their crew and sailed off into the sunset, escaping Anglefall and returning to the high seas. The party consists of Freya, the paladin of the Stormbringer. The paladin tank of the party, Freya, protects her friends at any cost. Taklak, a curious sorcerer hailing from far-off lands that has come to serve his god, the Platinum Guardian Bahamut, as well as learn about this strange land he has found himself in. Desna and Eska, chaotic wanderers who protect the people using style and a hell of a lot of chaos. And finally, Flint Strider, the captain of this motley crew, a pirate with a heart of gold. This party has been really fun, and now they find themselves in a bit of a rut because they don't exactly have anywhere to go. The ship, known as the Jack Carlo, needs extensive repairs, and, well, they can't exactly go back to Anglefall. The entire vampire brood wants their heads after killing Markov, so they need to plan out their next move. So you guys head downstairs, you see Victor, he's set up like a haphazard office space. He's got like a bunch of paperweights to make sure nothing like rocks when the ship is sailing off. But he just says, well, kids, it looks like you have what you want. Well done, everyone, good job. Well done's all around. I mean, it took a few extra steps than we thought it would, but overall, good stuff.
So what's the plan?
Well, the plan is not to starve to death, for starters. We need new food, in case you were unaware. Meaning we have to stop somewhere, because unfortunately this is not a fishing vessel.
We can fish enough to feed ourselves, right?
Do you guys feel like crab?
Maybe, but remember, we have like 12 people on the ship.
I think a good plan would be like going to Blackwater, because like they're chill with us, and like we can get supplies. Could they have like ports, dry docks? We can fix our ship.
Yep. In case, but speaking of our pursuits in life, I mean, I understand, kid, that we're not really into robbing random merchant ships, but this is a pirate crew, and we do need to pirate at some point. I've got a couple marks, if you're interested. I tried to find ones that, like, aren't desperate bastards just trying to make a living.
Any on the way to Blackwater?
Unfortunately not, but off the coast we could definitely nab some good ones. I heard about a bigwig. He's coming up in the big churches down north. He's gonna be sailing the ship full of good stuff.
So we can get him after Blackwater?
I mean, if we nail him after Blackwater, we could definitely get some good money in.
Sounds like we got our plan.
Now, during this discussion, Freya and Flint got in a bit of a disagreement. Freya is a paladin, and she does not exactly want to rob the church, whereas Flint is a pirate captain, and he thinks that it is the right thing to do and also the most practical thing to do. So, yeah, things got a little bit heated between the two of them. There was an inter-party conflict. Now, I've talked about inter-party conflict before in the past, and here it was in its full glory. The party took sides, most of them siding with Flint, wanting to do this job, because, number one, a lot of the party are still in the video game quest giver give quest, must accept quest mindset, which I'm hoping they grow out of, and I've seen them grow out of it through this campaign. But Freya really did not want to do this. It was completely in line with her character to at least argue that they should try to find another avenue to gain money. There are plenty of things to do in this big wide world, and if she convinced the party, I would have offered them something else. But she ended up going along with the job after talking to the rest of the group and concluding that everyone else wanted to go through with it. It was the right thing to do. Kyla, the girl who plays Freya, did a great job at resolving this conflict. It was believable that her character wouldn't want to rob the church, considering, she's a paladin, but after some convincing, she decided to go along with it because, number one, it's the right thing to do for the group because you don't want inter-party conflict to consume the party, but at the same time, it made sense for her character. It was a great little moment between the entire group. Now, the previous thing about returning to Blackwater. The party roll up and return to the town of Blackwater where they started their adventure. They repaired the ship and spent most of the gold that they had accumulated over their journey on those repairs. I do think it's important to, at some points in your campaign, starve your party of revenue. At least this is important in my campaign. They're outlaws, bandits on the run. Well, not bandits, pirates on the run. I wanted to invoke that feeling that Red Dead Redemption 2 does really, really well. In that game, they are following an outlaw gang on the run from the law, and they are desperate for money, for food, for bullets. You have to restock constantly in that game. Now, it's not a huge nuisance, which is why it works, but it's a constant presence in the story. People are always talking about needing money. Money is tight. It's a big part of that outlaw life. And the group in this campaign are meant to be an outlaw group. They are on the run. Now, currently they're only on the run from the vampire brood of Anglefall, but we'll soon see they're going to be on the run from a lot more than just that soon enough. I wanted to make sure that they knew when you're an outlaw, it's harder to come across gold, especially legally. So doing this illustrated that. They bought repairs for the ship, though, which was the right thing to do. That would have bit them in the ass if they decided to leave that and let it lay and let the ship rot while they're doing their adventuring stuff. It would have been bad. But yeah, they arrived in the town, repaired the ship, met up with some familiar NPCs. If you watched the previous episodes, you would be familiar with Charlotte and Sadie Jessel. Charlotte being this cute little girl that the party became a little obsessed with because, she was a cute character. She was fun. Party liked her. She was the innocent kid. And I love the innocent kid character trope. It works really well, especially as an NPC. And of course, her mom, Sadie Jessel, who is a fisherwoman, or at least she seemingly is. We will learn more about that later. If you watched previous episodes, you know that I pulled these characters out of nowhere, and I'm really happy that they got a bit of spotlight here, because, they're characters I came up with very, very quickly, so seeing the party become so attached to Sadie and Charlotte, this little family, single mom and her daughter, it's great stuff. The party hung out with them for a little bit, and then moved on to meet with the mayor. They did this for a couple reasons. Number one, they liked the mayor. He was a cool guy, and they're visiting his city, so they might as well meet with him. And two, they might need his help. He's got political connections, and they're going to need that if they're going to survive being chased down by the powerful vampire brood that probably wants their heads, and whatever other grand conspiracy is still out there. That is the main overlooming threat of the campaign. I will say that I didn't do a great job at keeping the conspiracy as a looming threat. I did a better job later in this arc, but here it was at its weakest because the party knew very little about it, and it was overshadowed by the fact that, vampires are after them. They sit down, have some dinner with the mayor, but their dinner is quickly interrupted. A crossbow bolt shatters the glass and flies right into the mayor's throat, completely, seemingly killing him as he drops to the ground, blood spilling everywhere. The party roll initiative as a group of rooks, outlaws from another location known as the Blighted Shore, come into the house to fight them. Now, the rooks were a threat that was introduced in the first arc of the campaign. I believe it was the third session. They were seemingly just a group of bandits, but they are a bit more. They're the reintroduction of this conspiracy as they have been hired by whoever is puppeting all of this crap to kill the mayor. And yeah, they seemingly succeeded as they stuck him pretty good with a crossbow bolt. However, midway through the fight, the mayor rises again, this time with large fangs, glowing red eyes, a pale complexion, and a hungry look. Turns out, the mayor is a vampire, and he goes to town on a couple of rooks. Now, I talked about this in my DMPCs video. You don't want your NPCs to be too powerful. However, the mayor is a vampire, and I wanted to show him being scary at least a little bit. I had goblins join the rooks, because it makes sense that the rooks would hire from all different sorts of people, not just humans and elves. That's boring. They're an outlaw group. They'd hire everybody. I tend to apply that logic to most factions in my D&D campaign. I don't like one race factions. It's really boring to me, unless it's a civilization where it makes sense. If it's a mage's arcanium or a group of outlaws or a pirate's crew, they wouldn't just have humans or just elves or just orcs. They'd have a wide range of people. So here, they have goblins. Goblins are weak. Everyone knows they're weak, so having him decapitate some goblins in one hit or rip out the spine of a goblin, that's not a big deal because goblins are trash mobs, so to speak. So it shows off his power, but doesn't make him more powerful than the party. He was also jumping around and mostly just eating. He wasn't really fighting things. He was focused on getting blood and getting himself sated. Now, the party fought through the rooks, tried to avoid the mayor, because at this point, they don't know if he's friend or foe. They just know that this guy has turned into a vampire and has started killing fools. So they have no idea what's going on. They try to avoid him and get to the main hall. When they get there, they are surprised to find that one of the rooks is pulling out some sort of bone fragment from her pocket. She activates a spell, and unfortunately for this rook warlock, the spell quickly consumes her flesh, sacrificing her and creating a portal to realms unknown. He's running out the door, but by the time he gets to the door, at the top of the round, this woman, her skin begins to burn away, and she screams in agony as the crystal consumes her flesh. She falls to the ground dead, and in her place, a pulsing rift of magic appears.
Uh-oh.
You watch a huge demon crawls out of the rift and into the room, grabs the rook on that's trying to run away, picks him up and rips him in half. Just drops his two halves to the ground. I'm going to need you guys to roll initiative against the Balgura. Alright, so the Balgura. Well, I thought that this would be a hard fight, and it was not at all. Now, to be fair, the ads that the Balgura had to sort of soften up the party for it weren't very strong. I mean, we had some low-level outlaws and some low-level trash mobs. I wanted to throw in some stuff. I wasn't going crazy because I didn't want to kill them in a simple encounter because I also knew there was something coming after this. Sort of a spoiler there. But the Balgura was meant to challenge the players, and it got 2 rounds. It didn't help that Tally, the girl playing Eska, our Eragenasi rogue, got to do this.
36.
Yeah, okay. So you watch as Eska, runs to the side, and while the Balgura is distracted with Desna, she, pulls back both her swords and, just stabs him, right through the leg. Black blood pours onto the table, and yeah, the Balgura roars in anger. He is pissed.
Sweet.
After that, it was all downhill for the Balgura, with players getting a lot of damage off on the creature. It didn't get to move much. It didn't really have any protective moves to stop it from getting absolutely shreked by gunfire and by smite. It was rough for the poor thing. It was also rough for Desna, because his attacks are all lightning-based attacks as a Arc Strider-based monk. It's a homebrew class. I didn't think about that. For some reason, I didn't think about that in advance. Everyone else is doing crazy damage except for poor Desna, whose attacks the Balgura is resistant to completely because he uses lightning attacks and demons have elemental resistance. So at that moment, that's why I needed to come up with something new. Funny thing is, though, Desna did actually end up getting the killing blow.
Is there any way I could throw my lightning spear staff? I want to leap in the air and I'll throw it right through its head.
Tylom drops down from the ceiling. He has finished eating the corpse. You see, he has an arm in his hand, and he just starts digging into the demon.
Okay. Hey, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Glad you're alive.
Okay, you say that? Make a charisma check.
Charisma. Oh, yeah. T20 crispy.
So, yeah, that happened. At this point, the mayor is still a vampire, and the party are kind of worried about him, considering that he just jumped from the ceiling and is now consuming the Balgura. But thanks to some persuasive words, he decides to join the rest of the party, given that he doesn't exactly have anywhere else to go, and there are people who are clearly trying to kill him. So, not only have they pissed off the brood of Anglefall, now they've pissed off the conspiracy people even more, and they've killed a bunch of rooks, pissing off their gang, too. So, yeah, our party is starting to just tick everyone off now, it's obviously great for a pirate business. As they leave the mayor's home and flee back to their ship to make way for somewhere else, they hear a gunshot from Sadie's house. Without even hesitating, Freya just says, "I run in," and she does so, bolting into the house, finding a dead guard just right at the front door, head blown in by a blast from a gun. They run down the stairs and find that Sadie has been knocked out. She's being arrested by another guard. The party are very confused as to what's going on. Charlotte, Sadie's daughter, the little girl, is just crying in the corner, and it's at that moment that the party are like, "We're siding with Sadie because Charlotte is crying. Therefore, stop Charlotte from crying, save her mom." So the party tie up the guard. They don't want to kill him, and they bring Sadie back to health with a little bit of healing magic. She got knocked out, so yeah, that was important. They asked the guard what was going on, and he didn't know much. He was just told to arrest this woman, potentially dangerous. She obviously was dangerous because she shot a guy. And she just saw two men barge into her house. She got scared and blasted one of them, and then ran downstairs with her daughter. She thought she could hide, but another guard came in, and yeah. The rest is what the party saw. Now, Freya didn't exactly believe Sadie in this moment. Sadie was clearly hiding something, like, why are the guards after her? Well, it turns out Sadie was, a long time ago, a member of this gang, the Rooks, that they just killed a bunch of members of a couple minutes ago. And she left the gang in order to raise Charlotte. She left that life behind, but it's clearly catching up to her. And it's at that moment that the catching up to her part really starts to kick into overdrive as an inquisitor from the Church of the Lightbound Eye arrives at the home. The party go upstairs, and at this point, Kylo really shows who Freya, the Tiefling Paladin, is. She's loyal to the church, loyal to her god, sure. But her friends, her team, they come first. And Sadie has been included in that latter group. So Freya goes upstairs with the rest of the party. The player behind the captain, Flint, he is not here. Flint Strider is not present, meaning that they are down some cure wounds. When a player is not present, I do not like playing their character because it's too much for me to handle. Like, I'm doing a lot as a DM, and I don't want to be playing as a character on top of all that. I would give them to another player, but unfortunately we did not have Flint's character sheet, and I did not have a copy of the level appropriate character sheet because I only had the one from level 3, which was weeks ago. So, yeah, problem. The party went outside to confront the Inquisitor who had come to take Sadie. They did try to reason with her, to be fair, but she was not having any of it. This Inquisitor wanted Sadie taken away because of her previous crimes for a reason we do not know. We don't know why the Inquisitor had a personal grudge, or at least a grudge against Sadie. Maybe it was just her orders. Who knows? Maybe she's just a fanatic. Whatever the case, party wasn't having any of it either, and they roll initiative against the Inquisitor, her paladins, and a handful of guards. It did not go well for the party. The Balgura was an easy fight, but the party burned a lot of smites, spell slots, healing after that fight. Here, they had none of that. They were down a party member because he was absent, and even if he was present, I'm not optimistic that they would have won this battle. The Inquisitor is a powerful spellcaster, and after getting off some good inflict wounds on the party, as well as some powerful lightning bolts, they needed to, well, bolt out of there immediately. So they got to Jack Carlo. Luckily, they managed to escape through some alleyways, along with Sadie and Charlotte, both of whom have now joined the crew of the Jack Carlo. So, yay! They sail off, and try to find somewhere to lie low and make a little bit of money, because now they've pissed off the church, they've pissed off the brood, the rooks, and whoever's running this conspiracy. So they've got 4 groups on their tail. It's looking rough. And did I mention that at this point they're like level 5? Back on the Jack Carlo, the crew now have a clear goal. They need to build up their own forces in whatever way they can, whether they're building up a pirate crew or building up some kind of network of connections in the underground. They need some allies here because they have pissed off so many people that at this point they cannot take this on their own. So they decide to travel to the city of Novosante. There are a couple benefits to this. Number one, that is where the train is going to be for their big robbery. And also, Victor, their con man NPC buddy, has a friend named Meg who has taken up residence in the city and operates a spy network or information network in the area. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. Their other option was to go to the Blighted Shore to handle the Rooks, who at this point, based on them summoning a Balgura into the mayor's mansion, at this point they have demon magic somehow, which is not normal. So they decided that they're going to let that lie just for a little bit, which is a choice that they might regret in the future, but they need money, they need allies, and if they don't go and grab this train now, it's going to be gone, and there's no way they're going to be able to rob it in the future. The money and the supplies on that shipment are valuable to the crew, so they head for Novosante. Now at this point, we have some downtime, a few days travel, and here is where I think I did a pretty good job getting the party acquainted with their NPCs. The crew of the Jack Carlo at this point has become expansive. You have Victor the con man, you have his various crewmates, you've got 2 of his buddies that joined along with him, you have Sadie, you have Charlotte, mother and daughter duo from Blackwater, you have the mayor. There are a lot of people on the ship at this point, and I want the party to get to know and understand these people. So I had the party interact with them through some random encounters. One of my favorite ones is that Eska met with Charlotte, this little girl, and she has been through a lot. This poor kid has had she saw her mother got attacked by the guards, her home got attacked by the church, she had to flee the city that she's lived in for most of her life. I mean, this is a lot for someone who is like 10, 11 years old. So Eska comforted her on the deck of the ship, and they looked at jellyfish together. It was really cute and a great scene that I would play here if Craig didn't delete the recording. Freaking Craig. Anyway, it was great. It was a great moment, a great few moments to introduce a lot of the NPCs. Victor has gotten to be basically the main NPC. He's basically my voice in the campaign. If I need to tell the party what's going on in the world and I don't want to do it as the omniscient DM narrator, I'll do it through Victor. Victor's a pretty knowledgeable and worldly guy, so it makes sense that he'd have this information. He's not my direct voice. I don't use Victor to communicate everything because Victor is a con man. He doesn't know stuff about religion or gods or magic. He knows jack about magic. So he just communicates the important stuff about what they're doing and various information points about the world, which is very useful. And I like doing it through Victor as opposed to doing it through myself. Whenever you hear me speaking in the in-game aspects of this video, I'm usually speaking as Victor. I definitely recommend having some sort of NPC surrogate to communicate that sort of information. It makes it so much more immersive when you communicate it through a character in the world rather than just as the omniscient DM voice. Careful not to make him a DMPC, of course. Victor is definitely not a DMPC. He cannot fight. He has a gun. He can use the gun to shoot people, but at the end of the day, if he takes on the foes that the party are taking on, he's screwed. A couple in-game days of NPC bonding later, the party arrive in the city of Novosante. Now, Anglefall, the city they were in the previous arc of this campaign, I based that off of the old noir New York sort of films. It's not a realistic depiction of New York by any means. New York is not always dark and brooding, but I base it off of those 1920s noir film atmospheres that I just absolutely love. I eat that stuff up. It's great. Novosante is more like a Victorian-era city. Not Victorian in terms of technology, but in terms of architecture and feel. A bit more idyllic, but there is this undertone of danger because the church has a presence here. Now, of course, word hasn't spread from Blackwater, and our party are a bunch of misfits, and while they are very distinctive, word spreads pretty slow in this world. I mean, technology and magic are not common on this side of my homebrew world. I might delve more into the lore of the whole homebrew world I've built up, but it's not really important. All you need to know is that the party are good to roam around this city, but they need to be careful. If they make a wrong step, the church will be on their ass again, and they'll have to flee, and they won't be able to get the job done that they need to get done, the train heist. So while they're in the city, the first step, first order of business is to get in contact with Victor's buddy, Meg. And by buddy, it's previous lover, but, it's basically the same thing, right? The party eventually find Meg's hideout and realize that Meg is no ordinary crime boss. She is a mermaid. And the first thing that she does is almost accidentally lure one of the party members into the pool that Meg resides in. She essentially has like this little underground area with a pool in the center with a big rock jutting out of it. There's the top layer of her club, and then there's the pool, which acts as sort of the bottom layer of her club where all of her mermaid and ocean buddies hang out. It has like a passageway that leads into the ocean. I thought that was pretty cool, and there's this little stone that connects the two. She basically climbs onto this rock that's in the center of this pool, and she can meet with the people on the top layer. I thought it was really neat and a cool location idea, but they meet Meg, and she almost accidentally lures Freya into the pool. I thought it was funny that Meg could do this on accident. She has this aura of constant allure that can accidentally bring people to a very unfortunate position. And I thought it was a good way to juxtapose her with the more dangerous mermaids that they met on the ocean, who just straight up tried to eat the party. Not that Meg doesn't eat people, as after the party take a simple job from her, they watch as a traitor, or at least a person that they presume to be a traitor, gets brought into the room kicking and screaming, and Meg uses a good old siren song to lure him into the pool and eat him, which that was a fun little bit of realization that maybe the party are not aligning themselves with the nicest people. But anyway, the job that Meg gave them is pretty simple. The crew of the Jack Harlow need to find a guy, a bard, named Jengu, a tiefling fellow. And that shouldn't be too hard. Bards don't usually blend into their environment, so they find him very quickly. I played Jengu a lot, like if you've watched the Witcher television show, or you've played the Witcher games, Dandelion from the games, or Jaskier from the television show, or I based the character more on this guy. If you've played Ghost of Tsushima and you've seen Kenji, Jengu took a lot of inspiration from Kenji, including, or at least I attempted to replicate the sort of way he talks, this high-pitched, almost always frightened tone of voice, and the party found it quite funny. Speaking of inspiration, Meg is a different creative process. Kenji was directly based off of a couple of characters. Meg was based off a character trope, the mermaid slash the femme fatale, just a general trope that encompasses a bunch of different characters, whereas Jengu was based off of two people in particular. I think both of these methods are perfectly valid ways to make characters. But anyway, they find Jengu, and he is drinking in a tavern. He's sad, he's lonely, but the party comfort him and tell him that they're going to bring him to Meg, and he automatically gets very frightened because she has a reputation of eating people, and he doesn't want to become her lunch. The party assure him that they will make sure that doesn't happen, sort of. At this point, half the party like him, and the other half don't like him. And by other half, I mean Freya. Freya is not a fan, but yeah, they all agree that they're not going to let him get eaten alive. Again, would play a clip, but Craig deleted it. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, after finding poor Jengu alone, they bring him out of the tavern and immediately find that the church is outside the door. Why are the church there? Because it turns out the reason Meg needed to find Jengu is because he is in trouble with the church. And because he's in trouble with the church, and now the church is here, the party are like, well, crap. This is a really, really bad situation. Everyone gets brought before the local bishop who is preparing for the Grand Sentinel to move in. Apparently, Nova Sante is becoming the center of a new movement in the church. The light-bound eye is going to be replaced. The eye is opening, so to speak. That's at least what they said. I tried to make it ominous and creepy. Something is coming. Something is happening here. This is definitely connected with the conspiracy. A lot of the party members are getting very creepy vibes from everything that's happening here. The bishop confirms that he knows who they are because they are a very distinctive group and they have been moving pretty openly in the city at this point. They weren't rolling stealth checks whenever they moved, so I thought it was pretty realistic that someone would have noticed. And while word does travel slow in this world, unfortunately they also traveled very slow getting to this city, so yeah, that happened. But they get brought before the church, and the church just tells them, hey, we'll let you go, we'll let your bard buddy go if you help us with an assassin that's been terrorizing our soldiers. And the party are like, okay, great, we'll help you. Well, actually, Desna does not say that. He mocks the church and promptly gets one shot by a natural 20 inflict wounds, that was unfortunate. But after that happened, the party all decided they definitely don't like the church, even more now, and want to team up with this assassin person that's been terrorizing their troops. After a few brief scuffles, the party meet with their third NPC in this city, Rydia, the light-bound assassin, a former member of the church who left after seeing the corruption spreading through the light-bound eye's ranks, and she decided to fight against the Church of the Light-Bound Eye from the shadows and try to bring redemption to the religion that she once pledged her life to. Freya and this character bonded over their shared experience. Freya has also just had a very ferocious falling out with the church. I don't think I touched on this enough, but her standing up to the Inquisitor is kind of a big deal considering that they were once on the same side. Both of them worked for the Lightbound Eye. Freya was a paladin of the Lightbound Eye, and now she is now in exile. She's with a pirate crew. This is very different to her. So having this fellow exile to interact with, that was fun. That was interesting. Both of them have a very good dynamic. Eska was the one who came up with the plan to team up with her in the first place, and seeing Eska kind of scheme, or, well, not Eska, seeing Tally, the player behind Eska, scheme and come up with ways to undermine the church and team up with this assassin, it was all really fun. They ended up teaming up after some brief scuffles, like I said, and now they have a new ally to rob the train. Well, it's not really a train, it's a lightning rail, but turns out Rydia, this assassin, also wants to steal some stuff from the lightning rail because the church is transporting a weapon upon it, and they need to take that weapon out of commission before it can be used for some evil scheme of the Lightbound Eye, or whatever the Lightbound Eye is turning into. So, the party set out to rob a train. Sounds like a bolt of lightning, like crackling lightning and electricity passes through the rails and is moving the train and like levitates above.
That's it.
Okay.
The train is coming into view. The guns are currently trained onto the bridge. What would you guys like to
So our
do?
plan, just to rerun over it. We are shooting the bridge out and then grappling up and getting on the train before they can turn on.
And I really hope you know the plan because we're doing it right
Alright.
now.
I did. No, I know. Fire.
As you're pulling the ship closer, you hear a bunch of banging noises that don't come from your ship.
God damn it, there's another ship, isn't there?
Nope, there's no other ship. Dragon!
Where's the sound
Is
coming,
it coming
from?
from the
You look at the third car, they have a row of cannons on the train.
God damn it.
A couple more lucky rolls later, the party get to the train, and at this point, we have the robbery in full swing. They board it, deal with a couple of paladins and guards on the train non-lethally, at least they attempt to do it non-lethally. They find the bishop on the train, the jackass who had Desna one-shot, the person Rydia has been trying to kill this whole time as well, their new NPC assassin buddy. They are not particularly a fan of this guy. They do decide to keep him alive for now. Of course, he would not stay alive for long. There were a few more complications, including but not limited to more rooks who were also attempting to rob the train at the same time. They had to deal with the rooks in a quick fashion, but also the weapon that Rydia was talking about. This void diamond thing that is inside of the train is emanating this music. I call them a variety of different things. I'm still trying to find a cool name for it, but it raises all of the dead rooks, all of the people on the train that were killed by the rooks, into these demented creatures that essentially like puke out their own guts and organs, and the blood and the flesh from their insides turns into these tendrils that stick out of their mouths. It was a cool image that I developed for these creatures, and they were hard. These things are each difficult in their own right. I used a stat block I found on Home Brewery, and I changed it up to make it a bit more unique. This is, in my opinion, what a mob fight should be. Not just hitting the bad guys, but something more. These creatures can drain your personality from you. They can go into your mind and make you part of the hive. So not only do the party need to deal with their health being drained and getting attacked by these beasts, but also they need to deal with these eldritch creatures eroding away their charisma scores, because if you reach a too low charisma, you become one with the hive and your mind essentially gets taken over, which is bad. So there's a mind control mechanic, and they're fighting against these monsters, which is not easy because each of them has a pretty decent amount of health. The party decided to flee, and, well, unfortunately, while they did remember to take all of the treasure, they forgot about the very important void music box diamond thing. So they needed to get that back. Wait, did anyone take the diamond? Did anyone take the diamond
Yeah,
on
we
the ship?
shoved it in the backpack.
That's what I was asking about.
We shoved it in the backpack.
Yes,
No,
we did take
Crispy,
that.
I asked about what are we doing
Put
with
it in the
and then-
backpack.
not the diamond. I asked what we were doing with the diamond. Why would
Did we leave it?
That's not
we-
a good idea. The point.
Someone
point-
else go grab it. Can I go grab it?
Can I use another Misty Step to go in there and touch it again?
After a convoluted plot to retrieve the void music box, they return to the Jack Harlow and sail off. They now have a decision point. Either they go to the Blighted Shore. Clearly, the Rooks are getting stronger. They're now striking locations deeper into the Cornerian Free City territories. The Blighted Shore is way off. That's the Rooks' home base, and they're attacking cities all the way over in the east. Blighted Shore is in the west. This is bad. They're starting to spread. Their influence is growing. They have demon magic. They need to deal with that. Or they can deal with this void diamond. But they don't know what to do with it. So they go back into the city to consult this arcane merchant that they met with earlier in the arc, which I didn't really talk about because it wasn't really important. They met with this tiefling merchant, and they just went back to her to ask her if she has any connections. And unfortunately, while they were in the city of Dovasante, Inquisitor Casamane, the Inquisitor from Blackwater that they fled from, catches up with the party. They have a bit of a scuffle, and, well, Inquisitor Casamane gets wrecked. The party take over some ballista, they take over some towers. Flint and Desna are in some towers. Desna with a ballista, Flint with his giant rifle. Freya gets a new set of armor from the tiefling merchant that she met, and the party collectively kick Casamane's ass. They are way stronger now at full power. They're a level higher. She gets brutally killed by Eska, who shoots 2 crossbow bolts into her eyes, and after that, the party flee from Novasante permanently. There is no way they're returning to that city. So yeah, with the information that they retrieved from their arcane merchant buddy, they now have 2 options. Either they ditch the artifact in whatever arcane school they need to go to, or they head to the Blighted Shore to deal with the Rooks. Quite a decision, but you'll need to wait another month to figure out what they chose. Either D&D Hogwarts or Demon Cowboys. We'll see what happens next, but I think this arc went really well. It was long. We went back to the normal length Anglefall. The last arc was pretty short, like 3 weeks. This one was 5 weeks long. There was a lot of content covered here, a lot of lore. The church are being built up as the big bad guys at this point. They seem to be the most connected with the conspiracy. Perhaps they're even running it. So they are pretty much the big bad guys. The BBEG has not revealed him or herself yet, but soon, my friends, very soon, our party are going to encounter their ultimate enemy, and it's going to be great, or at least I hope it will be. I think that this arc was strong. Novosante was a much more interesting city. I think that introducing the NPCs with their random encounter mechanic, or no, really not mechanic, but lore, roleplay interaction thing that I did, I think that was really, really cool. I think it allowed the party to build a rapport with these NPCs and make them and flesh them out into characters, and allows our party to flesh out their player characters as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. Fun combats. I'm really happy with these past few sessions. There were a couple that were rocky due to out-of-game stuff. I get distracted and get headaches really easily while I'm playing D&D. It can get really mentally exhausting, so there were times where I struggled, but I am happy with this arc overall. Also, in case you guys didn't notice, we're now playing in-game clips inside of this Campaign Diary podcast. I hope you guys enjoy that. I enjoyed doing them myself. They were a bit of a pain because the files are so big that my computer can sometimes crash while trying to edit them, but hopefully I can figure that out. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that because I think it's a really cool part of this podcast. It's the new format, so I hope you enjoy. Oh, speaking of, if you want to let me know you enjoyed this episode and that new format, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then please do subscribe to Crispy's Tavern or leave a follow on whatever podcast platform you're on. And finally, if you're on YouTube, then please do comment down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment on the railroad to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.